What's going on, you guys? For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Nathan Everett. For my research project, I decided to look more into transportation and motor vehicle safety as a public health issue. The name of my research project is Driving Toward a Better Tomorrow. And without further ado, I guess we should get into it. Before I do, I kind of want to express one more time kind of why I decided to go into this topic rather than something else like maybe HIV, AIDS, or something like that. A couple years ago, I had a friend. Unfortunately, he was struck by a car while crossing a crosswalk, and he passed away on the spot. It was a really hard time, not only for my family, but for his family, obviously, as well. He was my next door neighbor, so the pain that was exhibited on their faces was quite noticeable throughout the months and even the years after he passed. So I thought that just looking into something like this could kind of shed more light onto the situation and how things like that could be prevented. Because every day, as you'll see, I mean, people are dying from this at an alarming and a crazy rate. But without further ado, I'll get into it and we can discuss that just in a bit. So I kind of want to describe to you more about really what motor vehicle safety is. Motor vehicle safety primarily focuses on motor vehicle accidents. Oftentimes, police or first responders on scene will often call them MVAs. And motor vehicle safety also deals with the prevention methods that follow after an accident occurs. This kind of leads into automotive safety, which is like the study and the design, the construction of cars, the equipment to minimize, death on the roads. You've noticed there's a lot more safety features in cars, lane assist, lane departure, all these things that kind of tell you what you're doing while you're driving that you might not even notice. So that's a really cool thing about technology nowadays, especially with we're even getting self-autonomous vehicles such as Tesla that are able to drive on their own. And pretty soon, I believe it'll get to a point where we won't have the need for driving at all, and our cars will do it for us, which I do find super cool. But anyway, yeah. Researchers use all this information from motor vehicle accidents. They examine car crashes and everything like that, so that they can design these newer vehicles to ensure that when we get back on these roads after something like that, that we're safer in the future. This is extremely important for public health, as a public health issue, I should say, because currently motor vehicle safety is actually a leading cause of death in the United States, at least according to a report from CDC in 2021. More in depth on motor vehicle accidents. In 2019, 36,000 people died as a result from motor vehicle accidents, and over 2 million more were injured. That's a crazy amount to think about. Texas and California, not surprisingly, were the two highest states reported in motor vehicle deaths. Texas, I know they very black ice. California, I mean, just crowding population, narrow roads, just a lot of things that can create for catastrophe over there. The age groups 25 to 44 actually ranked highest in deaths. I thought it was actually going to be quite lower, but upon research after finding this out, I was actually quite surprised. Poor and uneducated people are more likely to die in motor vehicle accidents. This partly has to do with not only education but income as well. It has been proven that people who do go to college and get their degree, I've researched this before, they will make more money. And so people that don't go to school or people that are uneducated, they don't have money to buy safer vehicles. Because of that, that is why when they do get in car accidents, it's not maybe just the seriousness of the accident itself, but what you really need to look at in that case is what kind of car are they driving. Oftentimes, cheaper cars will lack safety features that more expensive cars have, and when you're dealing with poor and uneducated people, it's kind of hard to balance that out. Comparing this with racial groups, I was shocked to find that American Indian or Alaskan natives had substantially higher rate of traffic fatalities. My research showed that 145.6 deaths per 100,000 population, which if you think about that in context, that's not a very vast area at all. So I find that quite surprising. For some reason, I thought that whites or blacks would take this. Blacks actually took second, whites actually took third, but I did find a correlation between that and income as well. So yeah, in 2020, 45% of crashes involving one or more passengers engaging in at least one of the following behaviors: speeding, alcohol impairment, or not wearing a seatbelt. Those are that's almost 50% of why people are dying on the roads. So you need to take that into context. We'll go into safety a little bit later about why you shouldn't be doing these things, but just so I could get it off my chest now, don't speed, don't drink while you drive, and make sure you always wear a seatbelt, because whether you think so or not, because you're cool or not, it can and it will save your life come the time needed, if needed. So yeah, moving on to the next slide. Has this issue gotten any better? And the answer to that is actually yes. Since 1970, motor vehicle deaths have actually dropped exponentially. This is because safety features on vehicles have obviously improved. Technology has increased rapidly since then, and more people are actually wearing their seatbelts, which is good. Part of the reason for that being too is because up until I believe it was in the mid 1970s, you didn't need to wear a seatbelt. It wasn't a required law, and so many people didn't. But researchers found out that, these are saving lives, and this is something that needs to be invested in and something that should be put into law. And so it was. Because of that, like I said, deaths have actually dropped. So it is getting better. Airbags as well have made vehicles much safer. But still, many people are dying. Even though the technology is great, even though cars are getting way safer, people are still dying. So the real question is it enough? Can cars eventually become safe enough to where maybe we would reach 0 fatalities a year across the United States? That is a very rare occasion. Accidents do happen regardless. Like I said, even when it comes to alcohol impairment, speeding, or not wearing a seatbelt, that's only 45% of fatal crashes, leaving the other 55% with honestly just accidents, natural weather occurrences as well. There's just nothing really you can do to stop something like that, as much as it does pain me to say. So yeah, like I said, accidents do happen naturally. It is very hard to get that number down to 0. As a matter of fact, I don't think that will ever happen, whether cars are self-autonomous a year from now, 5 years from now. Yeah, I don't think that's a very good possibility. Moving forward, the big question is, how do we move forward? What can we do to prevent motor vehicle accidents? What can we do to keep people safe? The biggest thing is just be safe on the road. Make smart decisions. Like I said, drinking and driving is just not it. Don't do it. Over 11,000 people died in 2019 from a result of impaired driving. Comparing that to the 36,000 total deaths in 2019 from fatal crashes from motor vehicle accidents, that's almost a third. And if you really just think about that, that's 11,000 people that could be saved just by making a phone call for a ride. So when it gets to that point, just don't do it. It's really not a good idea. Another thing as well, never aggress the situation while driving on the road. Looking into this research, I did find as well that road rage is actually becoming an apparent issue a lot more than it was in the mid 2000s. There's been an increase of road rage on the road. So when you are driving on the road, just don't aggress the situation. Always be the bigger person. If somebody's coming after you, if you're able to call the police without getting distracted on the road. But if worse comes to worse, just pull over and take the situation from there. Like I said, it's just not worth it. That leads me to my next point. Keep your phones away. The reason how, or the cause of why my friend was struck by a truck was because the individual who was driving that truck was on their phone. Yeah, I mean, that just it really hurts just to even say that. Like I said, a decision like that could honestly cost someone's life, and in my case, it cost my friend's life. If it is an emergency, just pull over. It's not worth your life. It's not worth anyone else's life. It's as simple as that. Don't assume everyone knows what they're doing. Always be on the lookout while on the road. You always need to play defensive driver. There's no other way to do it. Just like I said, all of these things really does make a difference, and it can keep you safe on the road. But other than that, I'd like to thank you guys so much for taking your time to watch this video. I hope you guys definitely took some key points away from this. I know while I was researching and making this, I did too. But yeah, without further ado, I'd like to thank you guys once again and have a good one. Thank you.